Hi there guys, I hope you are having a good day. Now the WBO have explained Eddie Hearn knows the meaning of the word commitment. Also, they have explained that the ball is in Eddie Hearn's court with regards to this WBO situation and whether Anthony Joshua gets to fight for it in Undisputed or whether they are going to make him vacate so that Usyk can have his opportunity. That is of course if Anthony Joshua does not then face Oleksandr Usyk, who is his mandatory. So Anthony Joshua, Eddie Hearn and the whole team have a decision to make. Do they want that title on the line? Do they want to fight Tyson Fury or do they want to fight Oleksandr Usyk? Because the Tyson Fury fight could still happen next year even if Anthony Joshua does fight Usyk, because Usyk is his last mandatory, then maybe he can fight Tyson Fury, but still there could be another mandatory called in the WBA. So there is a situation where Anthony Joshua has another mandatory called or something gets put in the way again. I mean, also we have the situation of Alexander Povetkin versus Dillian White, who will fight in the early stages of next year. So after they have fought, they will be forcing their position for a mandatory against Tyson Fury. If that happens in the later half of 2021, then even if Anthony Joshua deals with Oleksandr Usyk, then tries to go on to Tyson Fury might then have a mandatory. So this could be a difficult situation. I think that when you consider that, you have to wonder whether the fight has to happen next, or maybe it doesn't happen at all, especially in 2021, which is when apparently they agreed 2 fights. So there is this situation where Anthony Joshua will have to relinquish a belt to try and gain a belt, and that is not something that Anthony Joshua wants to do, because he wants to be undisputed. The WBO are causing this situation, but then again, they have a mandatory. They have an obligation to give Usyk his opportunity, an opportunity that they have promised. So it is a tough situation, but the WBO have explained they've been lenient with Anthony Joshua in the past, and that was allowing him to have the Andy Ruiz Jr. rematch when he lost the titles and was able to win them back, then face Kubrat Pulev instead of Oleksandr Usyk to ensure he could maintain all of his titles, and it didn't have to vacate as a result of 2 mandatories being called at the same time. So that is worth noting from the WBO, but the situation is kind of different because I don't think Anthony Joshua asked for an exception to fight Kubrat Pulev. It was Usyk who was offered an opportunity to fight Derek Chisora. He took it, and therefore that sorted out that situation. So I don't know whether the WBO actually granted Anthony Joshua the opportunity to go and face Kubrat Pulev first, then move on to Oleksandr Usyk. I think it was a deal done between Eddie Hearn at Matchroom Boxing and Usyk's team. Now I would imagine that the WBO were involved with those talks because obviously Oleksandr Usyk is then putting his mandatory position up in the air in that fight with Derek Chisora. If Chisora wins, then does Chisora come mandatory? That would be the question I guess they had going into that fight, but obviously Usyk did come through. So the WBO would have been involved with those talks. The question is, did they ask the WBO for an exception? I guess that doesn't really matter because they are going to enforce their mandatory anyway. I mean, Usyk has said on multiple occasions that he's going to enforce his position. He wants his world title opportunity, whether it be against Anthony Joshua or he vacates and he has to fight Joe Joyce, but he's not going to step aside once again. This could be the situation. Undisputed could not be undisputed, but again, we'll know who is number 1 between Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury if they do fight. It seems all of the belts will not be on the line, and if Anthony Joshua wants them to be, then he's going to have to face his WBO mandatory, Oleksandr Usyk. Because I think that they can give them this ultimatum of, do you want to be a part of the biggest fight in world boxing, perhaps the biggest fight in British boxing ever? Do they want to be a part of that? That ultimatum can be put forward to the WBO, but it seems that isn't going to matter. They want to give their mandatory their opportunity. They have a commitment to Usyk and they are going to honour it. So if Anthony Joshua fights Tyson Fury next, the WBO belt will likely not be on the line, or Anthony Joshua will have to face his WBO mandatory, and I guess Undisputed is being pushed back once again. There is a situation and a conversation that needs to happen between Eddie Hearn at Matchroom Boxing and Anthony Joshua and his team to make a decision on this, because the worry is if Undisputed does not happen next, then when does it happen? It's being pushed back time and time again, and the problem with that is that's happened before with Deontay Wilder. I mean, they didn't even get to this point with Wilder, so That lasted for 2-3 years with Deontay Wilder. The worry is this could happen with Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua also. So I think that if they have an opportunity to make the fight, then I guess that is what they have to do. Tyson Fury will soon have a mandatory also, whether it's Alexander Povetkin or Dillian Whyte, because they are going to be calling for their mandatory opportunity, whoever wins that fight, because Dillian Whyte was supposed to be fighting Tyson Fury in the early stages of 2021. If he were to beat Alexander Povetkin, he did stumble at that block, but ultimately I guess if he wins against Alexander Povetkin, he is going to want a shot at Tyson Fury. Obviously then he will be WBC interim world champion, so he will be calling to be made mandatory to Tyson Fury next year. So after he has dealt with Alexander Povetkin, provided he comes through that fight, he will then be ready to face, say, Tyson Fury later on in 2021. If Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury have not fought by then there is also a WBC mandatory that could be thrown into the works. That could be Dillian Whyte or Povetkin. Then maybe AJ gets another mandatory with the WBA. Then there's a situation where all of the belts are preventing Undisputed from happening. So I guess if they have to drop a belt to do it next, then that is the opportunity, that is the window that they have. Now I know that we can say drop a belt, go and fight Tyson Fury. The WBO belt doesn't really matter when you consider the bigger picture, but the thing is Anthony Joshua has worked hard to capture those belts, and then he lost them, regained them once again. He's been fighting his mandatories, so he's worked hard to ensure he remains a unified heavyweight champion with 3 heavyweight world titles, or 4 if you want to count the IBO. But Anthony Joshua has worked hard to accumulate all of those belts the last 4 years of his career, bringing those belts together on the road to Undisputed. He is now missing only one piece of the puzzle, and that is the WBC World Championship. So is he going to want to vacate a belt to try and gain a belt? That is the biggest question. I guess that is something that he needs to sit down with Eddie Hearn and sort out. Tyson Fury has never been someone that Anthony Joshua is actively calling out. He wants to fight all of the big names, but he's after the belts more than necessarily someone like Tyson Fury or specifically Dillian Whyte. Whoever has the WBC World Championship, that is who AJ wants to fight. So clearly Anthony Joshua is not necessarily just focused on the silverware, because I think that he thinks beyond that, but what he does want is that undisputed status. That is most important for AJ, I believe. I mean, look at the belts he's accumulated, look at the fights he's taken to ensure he can become a unified champion and stay on that road to Undisputed. I don't know why, I just can't see Anthony Joshua vacating a world title, just letting a world title go. I don't think that he would really want to do that. I mean, he might do, but I just don't think Anthony Joshua would want to lose a belt and lose it by not fighting for it in the ring. Although now it does seem like Anthony Joshua has a very tough decision to make. Guys, anyway, what are your thoughts on this? Undisputed could be off the table if the WBO enforce their position, which they are going to do. What do you guys think that he should do? Make sure you leave your thoughts in the comments below, leave a thumbs up, and subscribe if you are new. Thanks guys.